Recording begins. Galactic Standard Date 2345.276. Location Centauri Prime Education Hub. Professor Blip-Boop speaking, head of xenophysiology at the Galactic Federation's Physical Education Academy. This is my formal account of, well, what we now refer to as the Terran incident. Deep exhale through breathing apparatus. Before I begin this account, let me establish my credentials. I've spent 35 cycles studying comparative species physiology, authored 12 textbooks on safe cross-species exercise protocols, and received the prestigious Golden Tentacle Award for my groundbreaking research in low-gravity aerobics. I tell you this not to boast, though my third heart does swell with pride, but to emphasize that I was considered the foremost expert in multi-species physical education when the Federation established our academy here on Centauri Prime. They chose me to oversee the integration of 17 different species into a standardized physical education program. We had floating gas bags from Jupiter's moons exercising alongside crystalline beings from the Andromeda Galaxy. I thought I'd seen it all. But then, they told me we'd be accepting our first human student. Nervous chittering. Now, we'd all heard the stories about Earth. A death world, they called it. High gravity, extreme temperature variations, deadly radiation from their sun. You know, the usual horror stories. But I was skeptical of all the fuss. After all, how dangerous could one soft-skinned primate be? They didn't even have natural armor or backup organs. I remember standing in my office, all four arms folded across my thorax, watching the transport ship dock through my panoramic window. The gleaming spires of our prestigious academy reflected the light of Alpha Centauri b, and I felt nothing but confidence. After all, we'd successfully integrated species that breathed methane with ones that exploded at the mere touch of it. Surely managing one human in our physical education program would be simple. Low, rumbling laugh. I have never been more wrong in all my cycles of existence. Sarah Chen arrived on a Tuesday, or whatever you'd call the second rotation of the third moon. She walked into my office, and I stress this point: she walked in. No hovering, no floating, no tentacle-assisted locomotion. Just two limbs alternating in a forward motion that somehow maintained balance. Fascinating and primitively elegant, really. My first impression, well, how do I put this delicately? She looked absolutely defenseless. No exoskeleton, no protective scales. Not even a basic energy field generator. Just this soft-looking exterior wrapped in what she called workout clothes, standing at roughly 1.5 standard units tall, with a frame that appeared to have all the durability of a Venetian glass flower. Adjusting recording device. Professor Blip-Boop, she said, pronouncing my name with remarkable accuracy for someone with such a limited vocal range. Thank you for accepting me into your program, her smile revealed. All my rows of bone shards in her mouth, but she used them for social signaling rather than combat. Most peculiar. I remember hovering behind my desk, my color-shifting membrane flickering between professional blue and concerned chartreuse. Welcome, Student Chen, I said, using my most soothing harmonic frequencies. We've prepared a modified curriculum to accommodate your unique physiological limitations. Amused, burbling sound. She just stood there, nodding politely, her dark hair secured in what she called a ponytail, though I saw no resemblance to any tail I'd ever encountered. I've reviewed the standard exercise protocols, she said, pulling out a data pad. They seem pretty light, but I'm happy to adjust to whatever the class is doing. Light? Did she just call our professionally calibrated, scientifically optimized fitness regimen light? I felt my third heart skip a beat, but looking at her pleasant, unassuming expression, I assumed she was simply trying to be polite. Perhaps she didn't want to admit her inevitable struggles in advance. Sweet, merciful nebulas, how wrong I was. If I'd known what her idea of a light workout entailed, I would have evacuated the entire facility right then and there. Prolonged sigh, followed by the sound of liquid being poured into what is presumably a calming beverage. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you about her first day in class. Let me paint you a picture of our standard morning exercise routine. The crystalline Andromedans would vibrate at precisely calculated frequencies to maintain their lattice structure. The Jovian gas bags would perform their graceful density fluctuation ballet. Even the high-gravity species from Rigel 7 would do their regulated joint strengthening exercises, all carefully monitored, all perfectly safe. Sound of multiple appendages shuffling papers. That fateful morning I gathered our diverse class in the main exercise chamber. Sarah stood among her classmates, looking remarkably small next to Grunk, our 3-meter-tall silicon-based student from the heavy worlds. The floating meeps from Epsilon Erdani hovered nervously nearby, their translucent bodies pulsing with anticipation. Today, I announced, we begin with our standard flexibility routine. Please activate your gravity compensators, and that's when Sarah raised her hand. By the cosmic void, why did I acknowledge that hand? Sound of nervous tentacle tapping. Professor, she said, still wearing that devastatingly innocent smile, would it be okay if I demonstrated a basic Earth warm-up? You know? To promote cultural exchange, what could I say? The Galactic Federation's primary directive is to encourage interspecies understanding. I gave her permission. May the stars forgive me. I gave her permission. She started simple enough. This is called jogging in place, she said, beginning to rhythmically bounce on her legs. The class watched in fascination. A few students attempted to mimic her. Then she dropped to the ground. High-pitched whistle of distress. Several students released alarm pheromones, thinking she'd collapsed. But no, she was supporting her entire body weight on her upper appendages. These are push-ups, she explained, proceeding to lower and raise her entire body repeatedly. The meeps began to fade from shock. Grunk's silicon structure audibly creaked in sympathy. But it got worse. Oh, how it got worse. She demonstrated something called jumping jacks, simultaneously spreading both lower and upper appendages while launching her entire body into the air. Without anti-gravity assistance. The sheer coordination and strength required, it was unnatural. Sound of liquid being frantically gulped. And now for some basic crunches, she announced cheerfully. She lay on her back and began folding her body in half, repeatedly. The Andromedans nearly shattered at the sight. One of my teaching assistants had to escort 3 hyperventilating Arcturians to the medical bay. This is just the warm-up, Sarah called out encouragingly. Who wants to try some burpees? The word alone sent shivers down all 7 segments of my spine. We watched in horror as she dropped to the ground, kicked her legs back, pulled them forward, and then launched her entire body vertically into the air. Professor Sarah's voice snapped me out of my traumatized daze. Is everything okay? Everyone's looking a bit weird. She stood there, barely even perspiring, while half the class was in various states of shock or distress. The other half had either fled or were recording what they assumed were her final moments of life. Sound of multiple appendages ringing nervously. Class dismissed, I shrieked in all 17 communication frequencies simultaneously. Everyone report to the medical bay for immediate stress evaluation. As the students fled, Sarah approached my hovering platform, concern evident on her terrifyingly mobile face. Was it something I did, she asked. That was just the warm-up. I haven't even started the actual exercises yet. The actual exercises? I felt all 3 of my hearts preparing to surrender to the void. Student Chen, I managed to articulate through my emergency breathing apparatus. Perhaps we should discuss some modifications to your personal exercise routine, preferably in a reinforced conference room, with medical personnel standing by. A long pause, followed by a shaky exhale. Little did I know this was merely the beginning. The next day would bring something she called cardio, and with it, chaos would truly descend upon our beloved academy. After the warm-up incident, I spent 6 hours drafting safety protocols, installing additional emergency beacons, and tripling our medical staff. Sarah had agreed rather bewilderingly to tone it down. Those words should have been reassuring. They were not. Sound of emergency siren wailing in the background. The next morning, I watched Sarah set up something she called a simple circuit training station. She arranged jump ropes, something horrifyingly called a mountain climber station, and designated an area for high knees. My anxiety gland was working overtime, producing enough stress hormones to sedate a small moon. The students arrived, some wearing additional protective gear. Grunk had encased himself in 3 layers of impact-absorbing gel. The meeps were wearing their ceremonial last rites garments. Even the usually stoic Andromedans had activated their emergency crystalline reinforcement matrices. Mechanical whirring of medical drones moving into position. Today's going to be super easy, Sarah announced with that deadly cheerfulness. We'll do each station for 2 minutes, then rotate. 20 seconds of work, 10 seconds of rest. 5 rounds total. She demonstrated each exercise with the casual ease of a quantum beast devouring spacetime. First up, jump rope. Sarah's rope whipped through the air with a terrifying whistle. Her feet, both of them, left the ground hundreds of times per minute. The meeps tried to replicate it with their levitation fields, but their timing was off. 3 of them got tangled together, and had to be carefully unwound by the medical team. Urgent beeping of vital sign monitors. Poor Grunk attempted the mountain climbers. Picture, if you can, a 3-meter silicon being trying to rapidly alternate its load-bearing limbs while maintaining a plank position. The resulting tremors registered on our seismic sensors. 2 cleaning robots fled the facility, believing we were experiencing a structural collapse. Keep your core tight, Sarah encouraged, demonstrating the proper form. Core tight? Most species present didn't even have what humans call a core. The Andromedans tried to participate by rapidly shifting their crystalline lattice structure. One of them resonated at exactly the wrong frequency and briefly achieved quantum superposition. With the exercise mat, sound of multiple emergency transponders activating. But the real chaos erupted during the high knee station. Sarah bounced up and down, knees rising to waist level, moving with the devastating efficiency of a precision-killing machine. It's all about quick feet, she called out. Imagine the floor as lava. Several species took this literally. The resulting panic nearly breached our containment shields. The Arcturians, with their multiple leg appendages, created what could only be described as a synchronized swimming routine on land. One of them got so dizzy they temporarily achieved sentience in 3 parallel dimensions. Frantic clicking of emergency shutdown protocols. Only 3 more rounds to go, Sarah announced, not even slightly winded. The medical bay was already at 147% capacity. We had students in various states of distress, crystallized, liquefied, gaseous, and several phases of matter we hadn't even classified yet. A Regellian attempted the jump rope again, got tangled, and accidentally achieved liftoff. We found them 3 hours later, stuck to the ceiling, mumbling something about cardio being the true face of evil. Sound of increasingly urgent medical alerts. Is everyone okay? Sarah asked, noticing the growing number of empty stations. We haven't even gotten to the burpee finisher. The word burpee triggered our facility's automated evacuation system. Apparently, someone had classified it as a level 3 biohazard term. I watched in helpless fascination as she completed the circuit alone, moving with the relentless precision of a neutron star. Not a single gravity compensator, no neural assistance, just pure, terrifying human biomechanics. By the end of the session, we had 17 students in medical stasis, 3 temporarily discorporated beings, and 1 very confused human. The cleaning robots had formed a union and were demanding hazard pay. Even the AI running our environmental systems had filed for emotional distress compensation. Sound of medical recovery units powering down. Maybe we should try yoga tomorrow, Sarah suggested helpfully. It's really relaxing. The mere mention of yoga caused our universal translator to crash. When we finally got it working again, it insisted on displaying a warning message term detected. Potential Deathworld activity. Proceed with extreme caution. I floated there, watching our medical staff deploy emergency regeneration fields, wondering how humans had managed to turn simple physical activity into what appeared to be an advanced form of warfare. Sarah stood in the middle of the chaos, doing something she called cooling down stretches, completely oblivious to the fact that she'd just redefined the term survival of the fittest for an entire sector of the galaxy. Prolonged silence, broken by the sound of a stress relief valve releasing. The incident report took 3 days to compile. The insurance adjuster took one look at the footage and immediately retired. And somewhere in the midst of all this, I began to realize that we weren't just dealing with a different species. We were dealing with something that defied our very understanding of physical limitations. The footage from our security systems went viral faster than a quantum entanglement cascade. Within days, every news feed in the Federation was running the story human exercise routines. The new biological weapon complete with dramatic reenactments by safety-suited stunt performers. Sound of multiple news holograms playing simultaneously. The morning shows couldn't get enough of it. Good Morning Galaxy ran a special feature, Deathworld Fitness, Are Your Children at Risk? They interviewed so-called experts who'd never even met a human. One Centaurian physiologist fainted on live broadcast just watching Sarah's warm-up routine. But it's just basic calisthenics, Sarah protested during her interview with Galaxy News Network. The translator struggled so hard with calisthenics that it started smoking. She then offered to demonstrate some actual intense workouts. 3 camera operators quit on the spot. Sound of public debate chambers erupting in chaos. The Federation Senate called an emergency session. Senator Blob from the Gelatinous Confederation gave an impassioned speech about the dangers of unrestricted human physical activities. He got so worked up that he temporarily lost cohesion and had to be collected with a specialized vacuum. Meanwhile, Sarah had become an unwitting social media sensation. Her demonstration videos kept breaking the Federation's content warning system. They had to create a new category: extreme Deathworlder activity view at own risk of existential crisis. Beeping of trending topic alerts. The academic community wasn't much better. The Journal of Xenophysiology dedicated an entire issue to analyzing human exercise patterns. The peer review process had to include trauma counseling. 3 leading professors emerged from their research with a newfound respect for human capabilities and a slight nervous twitch. Then came the conspiracy theorists. Humans are secretly training an army of super soldiers, they claimed. These exercises are actually ancient combat rituals. My personal favorite was the theory that humans were attempting to evolve beyond their physical form through sheer force of will. Sound of public information screens flickering. Sarah's video doing something called a simple yoga flow crashed the Galactic Information Network for 6 hours. The sight of a human voluntarily contorting themselves into impossible positions while maintaining calm breathing patterns caused a mass existential crisis in the Silicon Beings collective. But wait until they see CrossFit Sarah mentioned during one interview. The word was immediately classified as a potential mimetic hazard. The Federation's Linguistic Safety Board quarantined it faster than a runaway singularity. Emergency alert sirens in distance. Public demonstrations began. Pro-human exercise groups started appearing, mostly comprised of thrill seekers and extreme sports enthusiasts. They wore t-shirts saying "train like a human, if you dare," though none of them actually attempted the exercises. They weren't completely insane. The counter-protesters were more numerous. "Keep our gyms safe," they chanted, waving signs that read "natural movement only" and "say no to burpees." One particularly militant group demanded that all human physical activity be conducted in reinforced containment chambers. Sound of protest chants fading. And through it all, Sarah just kept exercising. She'd found a quiet corner of the academy's basement where she could work out without causing mass hysteria. Security footage of her casual evening runs, just her, jogging for an hour straight without any gravitational assistance, became the stuff of urban legend. "I don't understand the fuss," she said during her final interview. "I haven't even shown them Pilates yet." The translator gave up entirely at that point. It registered its own protest by displaying nothing but error messages in 17 different languages. Deep, resigned sigh. Something had to be done. The Federation couldn't ignore this any longer. As I watched the debates rage across the galaxy, I knew we were approaching a turning point in interspecies relations. The question was, how do you regulate something that defies your entire understanding of physical limitations? After 3 weeks of emergency meetings, 17 fainting spells, and one particularly memorable incident where the entire safety committee achieved collective enlightenment through sheer terror, we finally developed new guidelines. Sound of official document materializing. First came the creation of specialized human containment exercise zones, triple reinforced walls, emergency quantum stabilizers, and enough warning signs to fill a small moon. The engineering team insisted on adding a temporal displacement field, just in case a human workout somehow broke the laws of physics. We installed new warning systems that would make a supernova alert look subtle. Warning human physical activity in progress. Viewing may cause spontaneous evolution, reality questioning, temporary dissolution of ego, unexpected motivation to feel the burn, chronic appreciation of human resilience, alarm systems demonstrating various warning sounds. Every exercise facility in Federation space now requires a mandatory Deathworlder activity classification system. Category 1 light human exercise viewing requires signed waiver. Category 5 intense human training viewing requires updated will and testament. Sarah's warm-up routine? Category 3. Her actual workout? Classified under the same protocols as antimatter containment procedures. That thing she calls HIT? The classification committee just wrote, "May the void have mercy on your souls," and quit their jobs. Sound of safety seals activating. We installed special observation windows made from the same material used to contain supernovas. The xenobiology department insisted on adding emergency memory wipers for the observer's mental well-being, of course. Every gym must now display the human activity preparedness guide. It includes helpful tips like, do not attempt to match human repetitions. If a human says just one more set, evacuate immediately. The phrase "no pain, no gain" is considered a Class 4 hazardous mimetic construct. Attempting to spot a human lifter may result in spontaneous dimensional shifting. Bureaucratic stamps echoing. The most controversial policy? The mandatory "I understand that humans are built different" waiver, written in 47 languages. including interpretive dance for our non-corporeal members. 3 lawyers ascended to a higher plane of existence just proofreading IT. Recording final entry. Prolonged exhale. It's been 6 months since the implementation of our new policies. Sarah Chen graduated with honors, though we had to present her diploma through a quantum-shielded barrier after she suggested celebrating with something called graduation burpees. Nostalgic clicking sounds. You know, I used to think I understood physical education. 35 cycles of experience, all those awards, and yet a single human student revolutionized our entire understanding of what bodies can do, or perhaps what bodies should do. We now have separate physical education standards. The regular class continues with their traditional exercises, density fluctuations, gravitational ballet, quantum stretching. And then, there's the human section. We've marked it with a simple sign, enter at your own evolution. Amused burbling. Yesterday, a new human student arrived. When I showed them to the reinforced exercise zone, they looked at the equipment and said, "Oh cool, is this a beginner's setup?" I had to excuse myself to scream quietly into my emergency stress relief chamber. The Federation has officially classified human exercise routines alongside other natural phenomena like black holes and supernovas, beautiful to observe from a safe distance, but potentially catastrophic up close. Sound of closing documents. Final note for the record: last week, Sarah sent us a video from Earth, something called a marathon. I watched 3 minutes before my consciousness tried to escape my body in protest. The video came with a note: this is just the fun run version. Professor Blip-Boop, signing off. And if you'll excuse me, I need to go lie down in my regeneration pod. Just watching humans exercise is enough to require a recovery period. End of recording.